Knights. Snails. Locked in combat throughout the pages of medieval manuscripts. Flipping through the chapters of these ancient texts reveals a whole world of Monty Python level absurdities. Today, we'll be taking a closer look at this bizarre phenomenon. This video was sponsored by the Great Courses Plus. For starters, I wanted to give you a bit of a montage for the level of craziness we're dealing with. This all raises the question, what on earth is going on here? Right off the bat, I want to state that this is still very much a mystery. There are, however, several hypotheses out there. Let's now consider these. One of the primary thoughts is that these snails are just some form of early meme spawned from the minds of bored monks. After all, work in a scriptorium was long and hard, taking place in a cold, dark room over the span of weeks or even months. To attest to this laborious process, we actually have a lot of footnotes left by monks commenting on their work. Here are some examples. I'm very cold. Oh, my hand. Writing is excessive drudgery. Thank God it will soon be dark. Now that I've written the whole thing, for Christ's sake, give me a drink. It is therefore unsurprising that these monks would have sought some reprieve in their doodling. In fact, there are all kinds of weird creations in the marginalia of illustrated books. But as for the prevalence of snails, it may have been a result of monasteries often being located in the countryside where the animals were present. Often, these places would also have had their own gardens, which one can imagine were filled with snails. Thus, it's not much of a stretch that the bored monks would have drawn inspiration from their surroundings. Perhaps, once the idea was first spawned, it generated a lot of laughter, and thus began to transmit itself around. This would fall in line with the concept of memes, whereby an idea spreads within a culture, often with the aim of conveying a particular meaning. If we follow this line of thinking, then what might have been the message being conveyed, besides the surface level humor? Scholars have posited several hypotheses. The first suggests that the snails have religious significance. Some evidence for this includes the presence of marginal snails next to text about the raising of Lazarus, where it was said Jesus resurrected a man 4 days after his burial. Another piece of evidence comes from a Bible quote where the punishment of the wicked in hell is described as being like a snail which melts as it goes. Knights, therefore, would be seen as valiantly fighting these wicked people. But another hypothesis suggests that the snail represented a more specific category of people, the Lombards. This group was a Germanic tribe which came to rule most of the Italian peninsula between the 6th and 8th centuries. Apparently, they were quite unpopular in Europe and were viewed by many as being sinful, treasonous, and unchivalric. Thus, the snails in the margins would have been a bit of xenophobic fun. Hooray! Alternatively, another hypothesis states that the snails represented the poor and their battles with knights were a form of social commentary. One bit of evidence is that snails sometimes appear on ladders, which could be taken as a metaphor for them attempting to climb up the social ladder. And lastly, a final hypothesis is that the snails were a satirical dig aimed at the knightly class. The nobility liked to portray themselves as exemplars of heroic chivalry, but here they were shown to actually be self-proclaimed macho men who only fought lowly opponents. In some cases, they were even depicted as being in terror or outright losing a fight that should have been a cakewalk. Thus, the meme here is that knights think too highly of themselves, an idea that could even be appreciated by the upper classes, who I'm sure all had a run-in at some point with an overly boastful knight. I hope you've enjoyed this foray into the more crazy aspects of our past and gained not just a few laughs, but a greater understanding for the human side of our ancestors. If you'd like to find out more about medieval history and life in the past, you can do so through our sponsor, the Great Courses Plus. They offer subscription-based, on-demand lecture videos put together by top professors from renowned universities and specialists from places like the National Geographic and the Smithsonian. You get unlimited access to a huge library of over 11,000 videos which cover topics from history to science, math, and literature. Their history playlist is truly amazing, and I've been binging on lectures for over 2 years now. In preparation for creating my own documentaries, I've been working my way through their 48-part long series, The Other Side, which covers daily life across many ancient civilizations. The lecturer does a great job presenting the material in an accessible way and covers a wide variety of topics in neat, organized chunks. If you enjoyed this particular episode, I highly recommend Lecture 43 on being a medieval Christian or heretic. It explores the typical experiences of people in the church, as well as those who blasphemed against it. For me, I found it best to download the app on my phone. This allows me to swap from video to audio mode so I can listen to the series as a podcast during my runs. Right now, the Great Courses Plus is offering a free trial, which you can start by clicking the link in the description below or visiting thegreatcoursesplus.com/Invicta. I highly recommend that you take a look at what they have to offer and dive into the material you are most interested in. A huge thanks is owed to our supporters on Patreon, and the many talented researchers, writers, and artists who made this video possible. Please consider contributing to fund future content. If you found this topic interesting, check out these related videos about our fascinating past. Be sure to like and subscribe for more history, and check out the description for ways to support the channel. Thanks for watching.